Yes, everyone. Game week 9, and we've got a few games to talk about today. Um, honestly, we're getting into the season quite fast. It's I think the league is flowing quite well now. Glad to see the league back, of course, because man, I missed it. I missed it a lot. But I do have Manny backstage. How you doing, Manny?
Yeah, pretty good, Flair. Good to see you. It is, of course, Friday, and I'm not in love, but I am live with you. And yeah, good to talk about the league. I mean, I don't mind the international breaks. I do like international football a great deal, but yeah, I mean, especially after European football as well, it's nice to sort of get back into the rough and tumble that is the Premier League.
It might be Friday, but I think I'm in love at the moment.
I'm not going to pry. It's your personal life.
So yeah, obviously Leeds United are 1-0 up to West Ham at the moment. Poor start for Nuno, as me and Manny were discussing backstage. It's not looking good so far. But yeah, obviously we're not gonna predict that game because it's already flowing. But I'm quite happy to say that Leeds could win this and go away with it. So first game,
I think Leeds will win. Leeds will win, and I think I will
yeah,
provide a scoreline. 3-1 to the Whites. West Ham,
yeah,
maybe they might score, but defensively, they're just a shambles at the moment.
100%. Chelsea Sunderland. Ooh, quite like the look of this one. I think Chelsea, obviously, in recent weeks we've seen poor defensive stuff, but I think against Liverpool they was excellent. We saw an impressive display from Garnacho. I think Garnacho is going to be a good signing for them. As much as Hanno can disagree, which is fine. We all have our own opinions, but I think that as soon as Garnacho gets going, I think he's going to be an amazing player. But yeah, obviously Chelsea won 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. Of course, resulting in Big Ange's fate. So, I mean, they've got for this game, they've got Malo Gusto out on a suspension. Which, however, I don't think it would make too much of an impact then because they've got the depth, I think. So, Sunderland as well, I think, have been an incredible side this season. And I've always said, I think, since the start of the season, that they are going to finish about mid-table. They've got, of course, Super Granit Xhaka. Me and Manny are very familiar with him.
Too familiar.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, this game, as long as Chelsea stay on the defensive structure, keep up the structure defensively, because, of course, if they keep doing the defensive displays that we've seen from them, they're not going to get 3 points here. So for me, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea.
I'll go 3-1 here. Chelsea have sort of had a rather... I think they're just too temperamental when it comes to their discipline. And, of course, the fact that they had another sending off at the City ground pretty much says it all. It also is quite fair to say that on another day, Forest would have definitely had a good scoreline against Chelsea, but those missed chances really came back to haunt them. And but as far as Sunderland are concerned, they've done well, and I'm going to give them their credits. They've certainly proved me wrong, and they do have enough about them to stay up, especially with one or two more established teams struggling terribly. But let's not pretend that they're going to be one of those teams that will really, cause a huge shock to the system. I think you've nailed it. They will finish mid-table. And when it comes to playing against some of the bigger teams, I think they're going to be found wanting, especially if, Granit Xhaka were to come back to the Emirates and play against Arsenal. I think, he will receive a welcome from the fans, whatever. But I just don't think that he will have enough to be able to really tackle us the way we're playing. And as far as Chelsea are concerned, as if you saw them play against Ajax, I think it was,
Yeah.
in the week. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think we're seeing a real decline in the standard of European football when it comes to playing in these, especially when it comes to playing in these competitions, because the fact that the English sides have gotten such big scores in this competition this week, and certainly the previous week as well, it doesn't look good for Europe. But Chelsea, you just know that if they get it up them, they're not going to like it. I just don't think Sunderland really have that much quality yet. Isadora is a good player. Of course, I mentioned Xhaka. Apart from that, I can't really see anyone who can really trouble them. And I think the goalkeeper, Robin Roofs, was given confidence by Régis Lebris to start the season, but he also definitely has a mistake or two in him. So I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea. I think Chelsea are going to be motivated to do well at Stamford Bridge, and they're going to tear Sunderland asunder.
100%. Yeah, Estavio, he's been incredible.
Estevao, yes, that's right.
They've got a very, very good talent on their hands, honestly. He's actually mental. I can't believe it when I see him, because I think the last Chelsea game that I actually watched was when they beat Liverpool. But he came on, and I think, I thought, oh my God, like he made a massive impact, and of course he scored the winner. So he's incredible. Big up to yourself as always, Chelsea fan. Chelsea fan says 2-1. I think I can agree there. Leeds 2-0. But yeah, in regards to I fully agree. I think against bigger sides like the Big Six and stuff like that, I see Sunderland maybe. I think that they're only going to beat the smaller sides that are maybe weaker and stuff like that. I think that's what they've got the capability and ability to do. Of course, they don't. I mean, they can get shock winners and stuff like that. I think every Fulham get shock winners and stuff like that. Like they're a mid-table side, like. So I think if they get some shock winners, then fair enough to them. But I fully agree. I don't see them rattling anyone's cage really in terms of the Big Six. Newcastle United vs Fulham.
Ooh, Newcastle. What do you say about them? Tigers in Europe, except of course against Barcelona. But in the league, they're prone to struggle. The only saving grace is that they're up against a Fulham team that's not exactly firing on all cylinders themselves.
100%.
I'm confident enough to predict a 2-1 win, but, I think Newcastle need to start showing a little bit more in terms of actual muscle. And there's a lot of talk about Anthony Gordon and how he has to take his chances this season. But there's a part of me that thinks that, there are better left wingers than him right now in terms of ability. A certain Chuck E. Cheese is one that springs to mind. And Walter Marder definitely will be a very big threat on set pieces, and I can see him troubling Bernd Leno and that defense of theirs. And as for Fulham, I mean, we know that they are capable of playing exceptionally well on their day, and Alex Iwobi can still pull the strings. The only problem is, I just don't think they'll be able to do it against a team that, they have dipped a little bit in the league, but they're still doing quite well. I'm confident of a 2-1 win for the Magpies here.
Yeah, I mean, at home, St. James's Park. I mean, I noticed that Fulham rely a lot on Bassi. I think that's how you say his name. They rely a lot on Bassi, actually. And if he's not playing well, I strongly believe that the whole Fulham team's not playing well. I think he's a core part to that Fulham team. Without him, if he's not there, I don't think Fulham are there. So for me, I think it is a hit and miss game, I think, but I have to agree with a win for Newcastle. Of course, Gordon. I agree. I think he's mediocre. I don't think he's too much of a threat, especially going forward. I mean, he gets the odd goal every now and then, but for Newcastle to actually challenge, he needs to be better. He needs to work on getting himself involved in the team more. So, and of course, Voltemade as well has been incredible. He's on incredible form at the moment. I never heard of Voltemade actually before he moved to Newcastle, but since he has moved, I've actually started to notice him. So for this game, I agree with a 2-1. I don't see Fulham getting 3 points here. Newcastle 2-0. Who do you think would score for Fulham?
Certainly not Adama Traore, that's for sure. I think they're still going to be quite dependent on, Jimenez being able to hit the target. If Iwobi is a little bit more involved, then maybe he has his chance. So it could be between either of those two. It would be interesting if Emile Smith-Rowe were to come on as a super sub and maybe grab a goal, but yeah. I can't see that happening, though. No. I think, as far as the ESR is concerned, I mean, he's had his share of wonderful moments, but I think his best days have left him, and he still has a lot of work to try and get back to the level that he was at, and I don't know if that can happen. But, there's still time for ESR. He can still develop, and he can still, make up for lost time. If Justin Kluivert could do it, so can ESR.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think injuries with a lot of Smith-Rowe, I think, kind of killed him as a player because I think you remember, Manny, 21 to 22. Something different he was.
Yeah. 2021 as well, let's not forget. He
21,
yeah. Coming out also really big that season too.
Yeah, and his partnership with Saka was massive as well. So if it was me, Fulham, I'd probably Adama Traore I would definitely not put down. Maybe one of the most overrated players of the century.
Now, don't get me wrong. He's a great runner, exceptionally strong and fast. He just can't shoot for toffee.
No. I think...
or cottage cheese.
At Wolves, I think he scored like 13 goals for them. Like, he genuinely... His threat up front is abysmal. If I saw him running down the wing, I wouldn't even bloody blink. So Fulham, I agree with Iwobi. I think all round Jimenez will get a goal. But yeah, I mean, they've never really been able to replace what's his name? Oh, Mitrovic. They've never been able to replace Mitrovic, I think.
Yeah.
I think since Mitrovic left them, they've not been as attacking and fluent as they once was. United Brighton. Should we wait for Orest? We'll wait for Orest on this one. Bournemouth v Nottingham Forest.
Ooh, Iriola against Sean Dyche. And I can just see all of those Tricky Trees fans rejoicing after securing a win over a massively overrated Porto side last night in the Europa League, saying how wonderful it is. 3 words: new manager bounce.
Yeah.
And they're coming up against a high-flying Bournemouth side. In the corresponding fixture last season, they spanked them 5-0. I'm not going to go for a 5-0 tonight, but if anybody believes that Forest are going to get anything from that game, they've got another thing coming.
Mm-hmm.
Bournemouth just look amazing. Semenyo's a player in demand. Kluivert, as I've mentioned, is still, doing bits. And, the new defense that they've got, they're doing really well at the moment. And I would say that it's not going to be a 5-0, certainly not with Dyche managing Nottingham Forest, but I'm confident enough to go for a 3-1 Bournemouth win here. And hopefully my good friends at Up the Cherries in all departments, Craig Beasley, Matthew and Sam Harrison, will enjoy the game if they go over to Dean Court and watch it.
Yeah, I totally agree with your views on Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth have been an exceptional side this season. Semenyo being the core bit, and also they was able to replace Dean Huyton and what's the other guy's name? The other Zarabi, is it? Something like that. But they've managed to replace two absolutely exceptional centre backs very well. They used the money that they had, and I think they did amazing. So Bournemouth, I think for me, I think Semenyo is going to score in this game. I see him, moving to somewhere big in the summer. Do you see Semenyo getting a big summer move?
Definitely in the summer, because let's not forget, Bournemouth are going to fight tooth and nail to keep him in January. There are at least 1 or 2 other players in that Bournemouth team that are going to be ripe for a summer move, let me tell you now. And the only issue that I might have with Bournemouth is that last season they were also doing wonderfully, but then they had a bit of a collapse and then didn't end up getting European football. I'd like to think they would have improved in that regard. And I think with Dyche back at Forest, we're seeing a return to the same, a stodgy counter-attacking football that has produced results. It means, obviously, you're going to have to find your target man. No more of this forward passing stuff that would have worked if the players could put away their chances. But again, it'll be back to the same Nottingham Forest who would probably, just put up a fight against the bigger teams, but not really do very much. Should be careful, though. Dyche does have a very good record against Mikel Arteta, so got to be very careful there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were against me for saying about Ange, saying that he's not going to do very well. And I think, Manny, you was one of my critics for my thoughts on Postecoglou. But I think as soon as they got him in, I knew he wasn't going to light the house on fire. I mean, I think that Forest need a good, they need a good revamp in the transfer window. They need to get some more players that are going to fight for the badge. So I think getting rid of Nuno was an awful decision. However, I mean, it's Marinakis, isn't it? We can't. He's an unpredictable owner. I think as soon as Marinakis goes, Nottingham Forest will be doing just fine. But Bournemouth, he's Nottingham Forest.
We'll have to see, though. We'll have to see. I mean, I'm still one of those people who enjoy Ange and his style of football when it comes off, but let's not talk about him. I'm sure he'll get a new job. This is the crazy world we're living in. We're in a situation where no sooner does a manager lose his job that he gets another one within a few months. Graham Potter is, of course, now Sweden national team manager. So no need to talk about all of this. But let's move on to the next game, shall we? And do you agree with a 3-1, or do you have an even bigger score in mind?
100% agree with the 3-1. Chelsea fan also 3-1. We can go Wolves Burnley.
Burnley, easy.
Yeah. I don't even think we have to go into an in-depth analysis about this, do we?
I will say a few things, though. I think let's also start giving Burnley a bit of credit because, Scott Parker has since changed his defensive formation from a back 5 to a back 4 and has produced some results. And we could end up seeing a resurgence, a return to form for Kyle Walker. I don't think it'll be enough to save his England career, but he could end up keeping Burnley in the Premiership, and that'll be a feather in his cap. And Martin Dubravka, easily a better goalkeeper, shot stopper than both Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale at Newcastle. Should be enjoying Champions League football, but now is in a relegation-threatened team. But he's been one of their best players this season. Still need to score to get a good goal scorer who can at least score some more goals for them. But, you've got to give them credit where it's due. And this normally would be a relegation 6-pointer. But I think Burnley are also showing that they are up for the fight. It'll be a tight call to see if Burnley will stay up. But as far as Wolves are concerned, aside from the spirit they showed against Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Stadium, I just think they once again have not really been able to get things going. I had hopes for them against Sunderland, but it just didn't quite work. And this is going to be another home defeat, and there'll be a lot of questions about Vitor Pereira's future. 2-1 to the Clarets.
Yeah, Burnley have been good. We have to give them their flowers. Wolves, shocking. Again, they need to replace players that they've sold in recent years. They haven't been able to do it. They need a new manager as well. I think at the moment Wolves, I think, are just in a shambolic mess. There's no structure in the team. There's no leadership. I just there's no one fighting for the badge. I do tip them to being a team going down. Even if they was to get a new manager, I think it's too late. I think once what they've done, what's done is done. I think they need to, unless they go into next summer, they're going to really have to try and rebuild the team. Of course, if even if that's from the Championship, they're going to have to rebuild. But Burnley, of course, there's no denying that they've been absolutely amazing. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Burnley win. I don't see Wolves getting a goal here.
Good call.
Aston Villa vs Manchester City. Big up. How you gone?
Typical Aston Villa. They have a brilliant performance against Spurs at the Tottenham Stadium and then follow it up with an absolute pathetic display in the Netherlands against Go Ahead Eagles, who did go ahead near the end of the first half and stayed there because Aston Villa missed a penalty and couldn't hit a barn door. But Aston Villa at Villa Park is a bit of a bogey match for Manchester City, if you've noticed. In the last 2 seasons, City have lost both of their games there. And Unai Emery is one of those managers who can definitely, coach a good game against Pep Guardiola for the most part. Emery won't make the mistake of picking the same defence he picked on Thursday. Victor Lindelof at right back.
Oh, yeah. Rough,
Matthew Cash, Ezri Konsa. But what he would be better off doing is starting with Tyrone Mings over Pau Torres, because Torres, a very stylish defender, almost in the mould of someone like a Rio Ferdinand, or if going back even further, David O'Leary. But he is prone to many moments of mental flatulence every now and then, lack of positional awareness or what have you. Cash has improved his play, but sometimes he can also have a bozo moment. Luca Digne comes back in. And they still need to really make sure they cut down their sloppiness in the midfield and stop giving away all of these balls, because City, at their sharpest, will make them pay. As far as City are concerned, every time we think that they have this knack now also of making us predictors look ridiculous. We predict that they will have a really good game and they win, and then they end up flattering to deceive. But just when we start to doubt them, they come back even stronger. It's almost hard to predict a result. There definitely won't be a clean sheet. It'll be another battle between Martinez and Donnarumma, 2 world-class keepers. I'm going to sit on the fence here and say that this might end in a Desmond. 2-2. Villa might take the lead, but I don't think they'll be able to hold on to it.
Yeah, I think it is a very caged game. It has been for recent years. I think it's always been a very good contest seeing Aston Villa and Manchester City play against each other. It always is a good show. It always promises entertainment. I think we can't put down Manchester City at the moment. I think it's a one-man show at the moment with Erling Haaland. Of course, he's scoring consistently. He's in great form at the moment. If Haaland's fit, which I think he is, I think Manchester City are going to want to run away with it. So I'll go for a 3-0 City win. I know it's harsh, but we can't live down Haaland. We can't live down how good City have been in recent games. But Aston Villa are also on an unbeaten streak of 5 games.
In the Premier League.
Yep. 2 draws, 3 wins, I think. So it is a tough one. It's a very tough one. I'll tell you what. No, I changed my mind. I'll go. Considering the unbeaten streak, I'm going to go. See, your 2-2 is tempting me. Your 2-2 is definitely tempting me. It's a hard one to predict, to be fair. You know what? 2-2. I'll agree with you. I think they're on an unbeaten streak, Villa. The only person that's going to supply a threat from City is Haaland. Doku hasn't been good. Savinho, will Pep even give him a chance? Foden is a hit and miss player, really. So yeah, I'm gonna agree. 2-2.
Yeah, this will be an exciting game, and I will try and tune into it. I think it's on a Sunday, of course, because they'll obviously play on a Thursday in the Europa.
Got a Steve in my FPL, so hoping for a Burnley clean sheet. I'll go 2-0. Man City 2-1.
That's a fair prediction.
3-1 City.
Honeygun's gone for 3 goals, which Aston Villa aren't impregnable at home. Crystal Palace smacked them 3-0. They've been solid since then. But, I completely understand if people would like to predict a City win. I mean, obviously, there's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised if City go on and win this, because they're gonna want to make sure they keep the heat on us and Liverpool at top.
Yeah. Big up to yourself, Mr. B. 2-1 City. Everton vs Bleep.
I'm going to do my favourite Jason Cundy impersonation. Of course, I can't stand the Pillock, but I have to do it. Has anyone seen the Orange Houses? Gary Mabbott, Alan Sugar, your boys took a beating against Aston Villa, and you couldn't even hit a barn door against Monaco, and if it weren't for the keeper, you'd have lost.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
100%.
I think it's fair to say, right? Yeah. Even now, Flair, you still see a huge debate on Twitter about among Tottenham fans about whether or not Frank was the right person for the job. If they had to remove the Europa League winning manager, then by all means, get yourself a better manager. Go in for someone like a Glasner. And I know that Steve will probably still have a soft corner for Frank, but we've got to start accepting, as I believed back then, that Frank would be no more than a Graham Potter who would just come in and not really be able to, exert that sort of change and that really and really take the team further. A lot of people who defend him say that he's trying to improve the team's defensive structure, and I suppose that's fair. But when you're competing in Europe, you've also got to make sure that you have something. You've got to have some sort of a fire in you, and I don't see that kind of fire. You could say that far from being a tank engine or a Frank engine, he's more of a fireman, really. And I just think all of the goodwill that came in following his appointment and all of the praise about him being a proper manager is now starting to get diluted a bit. It could very well be that people are seeing him as someone like a Pochettino who'd come in, just be given some time to really work with the team and maybe take them further. And I suppose that's fair. But if there's a situation where Spurs fail to return to Europe this season through the league table, because I don't see them winning the Champions League, and if they don't win a trophy, then there are going to be a lot of complaints here. As far as Everton are concerned, they're never going to be one of those teams, they're never going to be one of those teams that will really challenge for big European honours unless they really go on a big run. But they just got a little bit more about them, especially with Chuck E. Cheese back with Everton after being ineligible against Manchester City. I see Everton doing really well against a Tottenham team that just don't really inspire at the moment. And, you know, Moyes has got Everton playing some decent football. They're going to scrap. They're going to fight. They're going to really give it everything. And I can look here at a 2-1 win. And if Jackie Grealish were to score the winner, you couldn't script it better.
Yeah, 100%. Of course, Jack Grealish has been an absolutely incredible addition. Not many people actually predicted it. Not many people actually predicted Jack Grealish to do as well as he has. But I have to give my hats off to him. I think he never really got a chance at City. I think he got done very, very dirty. He's an incredible player. I mean, I don't understand why Pep decided to do what he did to him. But I really, really hope that he leaves Manchester City in the summer. Really, really hope that he leaves because he's an excellent player. His talent is getting wasted, and he's only going to get older. Yeah. So Jack Grealish, of course. Tottenham. That Monaco display was not great. There's no attacking threat, I think, in my opinion. And also, I fully agree with your perspective of Thomas Frank. I think that I never, ever, ever 1 second thought he was going to light the house on fire. He made signings. He signed Mohamed Kudus, who is an excellent player. And he scored, 1 goal for them. Xavi Simons, who is an excellent young player who has very, very, very good potential. People were calling him the next Wirtz, the next Musiala. He's going to be like them too. But he has moved to Tottenham and he hasn't performed. He hasn't been great. And I notice a lot of stuff about Wirtz getting stick, but nobody actually is focusing on Xavi Simons because I think he got like 2 assists to his name or 1 assist. Like has he got a goal yet?
No goal as of yet, as far as I can tell.
I think he's got a couple of assists and that's it. Like nobody is talking about how Xavi Simons has been bad.
Xavi's been shabby.
Yeah, he has. He has been mediocre. It's not what I expected, but I'm really, really glad that we've got Eberechi Eze over him. Really, really glad.
Yeah. And to think that those Spurs supporters were sneering at us, saying,
They were.
"You know what? We pulled a bait and switch on you, and we got a better player."
No, they haven't at all. Eze's actually got a goal. But yeah, they was mocking it. They were saying, "Oh, let it all work out" and stuff like that. They were mocking it, but who's laughing now? Like we got an experienced Premier League player, by the way, who has been in the Premier League for years. I mean, but I think that I think Kolo Muani, is he fit?
Should be,
I think he should be, yeah. I think he has missed a few games for them, but Kolo Muani should be a good player. He was at Juventus, was quite decent at PSG, so if he's not good at Spurs, it's a Spurs problem. The only player that I can actually say in this Spurs team that's actually been good is João Palhinha. João Palhinha has been incredible. Kudus has been mediocre. I think Xavi Simons has been mediocre. I think Palhinha was their best signing this summer. To get him on loan as well, I think was great. Everton, Jack Grealish, of course. So here is what I'm going to say: is Tottenham have no attacking threat. I think, in my opinion, Sarr has been good. If Sarr can score, then maybe they've got a chance. But I'm going to go with a 1-0 Everton win.
So not even a goal for Richarlison on his return to Everton, albeit at the Bramley Dock.
No, I just don't see any attacking threat in this Spurs team at the moment.
And quick question before we move on: Grealish or Gordon for England?
Grealish.
Tommy Tuchel, the ball's in your court.
Yeah. Gordon is... I don't think he's a team player. He's not... He's good at running down the flank, yeah, but when it comes to cutting inside, when it comes to stuff, I think he scores scraps. He gets a scrap every now and then. Like I don't think he's a good player that much. So yeah, 100% Grealish, because Grealish actually cuts inside, makes good passes as well. Grealish will definitely put more to the badge, I think, than Gordon does. Yeah, so 1-0 Everton. I'm going to go with this one. Just have a look through the comments. Chuck E. Cheese brace, says Mr. B. Mr. B, please beat Liverpool, my friend. 2-1 Everton. 1-0 Everton. Nobody is saying our Spurs win here. Everton 1, Tottenham 1. Frank Engine breaking down. Now we can talk real ball money.
Ah, yes. The Eberezer derby. Could have been the Rob Holding derby. Oh, actually, it is the Eddie Nketiah derby, so I wouldn't be surprised if he were to come on and maybe score a consolation. But once again, that'll be as good as it should get for Crystal Palace. And of course, they too lost at home in midweek in the Conference League against a team, Laneka, I think it is, from Cyprus, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know who they are, although I can easily look them up on BBC Sport and find out more about them. Into stoppage time at the end of Leeds and West Ham. And, Palace were this team that really won a lot of admirers and a lot of hearts last season. And Oliver Glasner is an example of how, with the dreadful start that he had last season, no wins in 8, 1 win in 13, by all rights, he should have been a dead duck. He should have been given his P45. But the club stuck with him, and, they reap the rewards. So that just goes to show that when you don't give managers anywhere near enough time, you can't expect good things. But if you do see some good in some managers and you give them the adequate time, they will reward you. Now, of course, this Crystal Palace team is not quite the same team without Eze, although they do still have Mateta. Sarr is also definitely proving to be a good player. I just think they've started to hit a little patch of inconsistency. And I did say that the Palace-Bournemouth game would be a Diwali cracker. I went for a 2-2. It ended up being 3-3. And, of course, were it not for that stoppage time penalty, Palace would actually have lost that match at home. So they're starting to dip a little bit, you see. And this has come at a horrible time for them because now they're running into a team which, as you and I can agree, are in absolute red-hot form. It is wonderful to see. And I just can't really see anything from here. I know that in the corresponding fixture last season, Palace did get a 2-2 draw with Mateta making an idiot out of David Raya and the defence that day. But
that was a good goal.
I really don't see Palace getting anything from this. I'm confident enough to predict a 3-1 win. And I could also go with a team lineup which is more or less the same that started against Atletico in midweek, except that Skelly gets put back to the bench and Calafiori comes back in. I know a lot of people have been talking about how great he was, but he was used as an inverted midfielder against a rather aging, tiring, creaky Atletico Madrid team. Several of their players have done their dash and have passed their sell-by date. The manager's passed his sell-by date. But for the Premiership, you've got to have Calafiori back. He's much the better defender. He can at least, overlap a little bit, provide Martinelli better support. Martinelli definitely should start. You cannot drop him after that game. There's no way in heck that you could drop Gyökeres. Saka stays where he is. Odegaard's still not fit, though, is he?
No, he won't be for another 3 weeks.
Right, so it's more or less the same midfield with the defensive midfield pivot and Eze sort of being in that number 10 position. That is where he is at his best.
Yeah,
do
100%.
not even think of putting him on the side.
100%.
And if Arteta has any sense, he will keep Odegaard on the bench and let Eze play in that role even once the Norwegian comes back to full fitness. So Calafiori is the only change I'd make to that lineup. 3-1 to the Gunners. What say you?
Yeah, I can agree, but I don't think Palace are going to score. We've conceded 3 goals this season in all competitions. Voltemade, Haaland, and Szoboszlai being the only scorers against us. We haven't even had a shot on target against us in the last 2 games. I think defensively we look absolutely sensational, but of course Gabriel is in doubt for this game, so we're either going to see Hincapié or Mosquera. Would you rather Hincapié or Mosquera start?
I'd say Mosquera. I think it's come too soon for Hincapi, and there's also a part of me that would like to see Hincapi and Calafiore go into competition for the left back slot, giving us another central midfield option in Lewis Skelly. Because, again, I don't want to see another Zinchenko situation develop where, you have our left back coming into the midfield, providing that ballast, but then being caught out at the back and conceding a needless goal. It happened against Aston Villa in 23-24. I don't want to see that happen again.
100%. Hunnigan says 2-0 Arsenal. Mr. B says 2-1 Arsenal. Chelsea fan says 2-1. Big up man in Flair. Palace will be a huge test for you guys. Your recent record against them has been hit and miss at home. I expect Arsenal to win 2-1. Mentality, this will be the key for the Premier League title. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if we can keep up with the consistency at the moment, I think going forward, we need to cause more threat. We're getting chances and they're not being buried. Especially Eze in the midfield should be able to create them chances. And I'm just praying to Lord that Gyökeres stays central. Gyökeres was doing a lot of drifting to the left, I think, in his first few games. But I see him sort of getting into the team now. He's definitely getting into the team a lot more now. I have been keeping a close eye on him. And I can say in the last 2 games, he's been actually staying central rather than floating off to that left-hand side and then hoping for a cut inside when he's got 2 players, 2 defenders on him. So, yeah, 100%. I think we will win this game. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. It's not going to be a thrashing because obviously we can't forget that Palace have Lacroix, Gahey, Adam Wharton. They have some sensational players, and of course Mateta as well. So yeah, I mean, if we keep up our defensive shape, I mean, they hit us on the counter attack with Mateta. That won't be very good, but hopefully we do see Mosquera starting over Hincapié. Because Hincapié actually isn't fully fit, so I'm hoping that Mikel sees his senses there and not rush a player back from injury like he usually does. I want to see Saka starting, Gyökeres, Martinelli on the left. I do not want to see Trossard touch that pitch. Not until the second half, at least. But I think it's always been a good idea to have... I see where he's coming from starting Trossard. I mean, what he wants to do initially, I think, is have Trossard on the left, and then the players get tired. By half-time, he switches them out. And then Martinelli obviously supplies the pace. Which I see the vision, but I think it doesn't work. We need goals early on. We need to not get caught behind. We need to create chances early on when the whole team is fluent and going forward nicely. It's always a good idea as well to make sure that we're, of course, scoring them set pieces. As much as people have been slating us, a lot of people have been slating us for set piece FC. It's still a goal. We're still top of the table. Grow up and keep crying. At the end of the day, we're a team that's performing better than anybody in the Premier League right now. And we're still scoring goals. They're 3 points on the table, and they're results. So at the end of the day, you can't really cry about that. But yeah, 100%. I want to see more. I do want to see open play goals, though. I do, because I think it's not very convincing. Of course, with the set pieces all the time, it doesn't convince me that at the end of the season we're going to be screaming Premier League champions, because at one day, this whole set piece thing will eventually get patched. Teams will start to recognise the play. We need to start scoring more open play goals. Can you agree with that, Manny?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah. I'm sick and tired of. I'm also going to agree with you that I'm sick and tired of people criticizing, our dependence on long throws and set pieces. Especially you, Jamie O'Hara. You're a pillock on TalkSport. Cunding's a bigger pillock than you, but you're still a pillock. You got no business speaking for the Spurs fan base on Sky Sports. And many of us Arsenal fans are old enough to remember how we get unstuck against Stoke City thanks to a certain Rory Delap, Liam's dad, firing in those javelins from the sideline and seeing us get undone. In fact, as recently as last season at home against Bournemouth, it was the long throw that was our undoing, let's not forget. So should we therefore not try to look at that and see if we can't improve ourselves in that regard? Of course we should. So I'm sick of these sour grapes. At the end of the day, we have to do whatever we have to do to make sure that we win.
And get a result,
I would say, though, that we should play our share of good football and also have the set pieces and long throws. And I completely agree with you that more open play goals are a must, but they will happen and they have happened. And let's just keep this going and let's just move forward. But let's not get complacent, because complacency is always our undoing.
100%. I think mentality is very important, especially for the rest of the season, because I think for the last 3 seasons, I think we've had periods where we're doing well, and then all of a sudden that we lose to like Fulham, something like that. Fulham, Villa, we've seen it before. Like, we have these 1 or 2 games, and then all of a sudden the whole team, the mentality just drops. We stop going forward. We start playing more defensive, and it doesn't work. You need to stay consistently keep pushing, because now we have the depth as well. We have to remember as well. We have a lot of attacking players now. We have a better attack than we did last season. So yeah, as long as we just keep up the mentality that we've got at the moment and not get too carried away with ourselves, then I think a league title is incoming. But I'm not going to get... you can never know with Arteta as the manager, but we need to cover... We haven't done this one.
Ooh.
I know I said I was going to wait for a rest, but it's been 47 minutes now, so...
This is a tasty one. A tasty one. Manchester United have had a bit of a revival of late. That smash and grab at Anfield was absolutely brilliant. They're coming up against a Brighton side with former United star Danny Welbeck in their ranks. And they're going to look to try to win this. I think it's going to be a draw. And yes, Steve, make fun of me all you want, but I'm going for another Desmond here. The thing about United is, we've seen in recent seasons how they are capable of getting some of these terrific results when you least expect them to do so. And yet they end up coming a cropper in subsequent games. It's almost like, Saudi Arabia beating Argentina in the World Cup in 2022, and everybody crowing about that game and talking about how Argentina were in decline and how they'd never amount to anything and how Saudi Arabia could shock the world. We all know what happened. The Saudis went home with their tail between their legs after losing against Mexico and Poland, and Argentina, powered by Messi and company, went on to win the whole thing. So as far as this game is concerned, I think United obviously are going to be cock-a-hoop, and they are quite happy to have Fernandes and Maguire still playing really well. Those 2 old war horses still in their ranks. Certainly with Le Mans or Lemons or whatever you want to call him in goal. I think Le Mans is how you pronounce it, as in Le Mans 24-hour, that Scalextric toy thing. Steve will know that very well. And by all intents, it does seem that they are getting a little bit better, and Mbeumo is also finding his range. But Brighton, for all of their faults about how inconsistent they are, I think defensively they will be quite solid against this United team. I don't see their defense getting breached too often. And it will take something really, really good to get past their defense in many ways. It does seem to look a little bit more solid of late. And, they've made some good signings themselves. They're no longer solely dependent on Kaoru Mitoma to pull the strings. And of course, as long as Welbeck is still firing on all cylinders, he'll be chomping at the bit to do well on his return to Old Trafford. So this has the makings of a really good, interesting game over here. And I think United will be under a little bit of pressure to try and make it 3 consecutive wins and try and build on the goodwill from the Liverpool game. But this could end in a draw. And I'm actually going for a 2-2 here because it's, I mean, you can accuse me of sitting on the fence on this, but I just don't see enough as of yet to separate both teams. And I think Hertzler will definitely make sure that his team are a lot more organised when they go over to Old Trafford. But there will be goals in this one. 2-2.
Yeah, obviously United have won back-to-back games now. The Amorim Glazers are out, and they're all out and throwing all their batons around. Amorim's this. I love Amorim. But I strongly believe that Amorim isn't the way to go for Manchester United. I think that he's sticking to the football that he played in Portugal, and it's simply not working. It's not, and it's never going to work. He needs to change things up, and he's already said that he's not going to change things up. Which it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick if it hasn't been working. A lot of people say, why fix something that isn't broken? But if something's broken, you fix it. And that's what needs to happen at Manchester United. So for this game, I'm going to have to agree with a draw. I see Man United being good, especially in Bomo. And Bomo's looks really good. But it's all about maintaining that consistency. And I just don't think that they'll be able to do it. So I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. What does the chat say?
Let's have a little look, shall we? Orest taking his time as usual, too much now. And where is Prime United with back-to-back wins? Yeah. Going to agree with Manny, 2-2 at the Theatre of Dreams. Yeah. United draw as well. What other game we need to do?
Were there predictions for some of the other games that we missed?
We've got one more, I think. Yep, one more. Mr. B, you'll be very, very happy to hear us talking about Brentford. Against Liverpool. Liverpool have been... Of course, they won against Frankfurt. Florian Wirtz got his first contributions of the season. 2 assists, I think he got, didn't he, against Frankfurt? So yeah, it's not a bad game from him. But Liverpool have not been good. Brentford as well at home is quite a difficult challenge. I'm gonna go 2-2.
So you've been bitten by the Desmond curse, haven't you? And I was actually asking you if we got all the predictions from the chat from some of the other games, if we missed anything. But
Wolves 1-1 Burnley, says Mr. B. 2-1 against Newcastle. Arsenal to win 2-1 against.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned the 2-1. That's right.
Chelsea to win 3-0. Bournemouth to win 2-0. Yeah, we're caught up now.
Okay, so first of all, big up to Steve and also to Douglas Horn from the Dugout Football channel. The two of them did a preview together for Dougie's channel. Do catch that on playback if you can. And Steve was actually telling me that this is going to be a wonderful reunion for Jordan Henderson, Queven Kelleher, and I think Fabio Carvalho with their former teammates. But sadly, he doesn't quite hold out very much hope of the Bees getting anything from this one. And if there ever was a worse time to face Liverpool, it's on the back of Liverpool thrashing an away team 5-1. Although it must be said that apart from Mario Götze, that Frankfurt team are just a bunch of, sausages at the moment, it has to be said. Pun intended, of course. And Brentford, as you and I were talking about, were excellent value for their win over West Ham. And I think Steve was also waxing lyrical about that, and rightly so, on his review stream. To the victor go the spoils, obviously. West Ham were just awful, and Brentford were enterprising and just carving them apart at will. And what could give Brentford a little bit of hope is that although both of them were on the score sheet against Frankfurt, Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate have also passed their sell-by dates as defenders, and they need to shore up that defence in January ASAP. I don't think that Gehi will be the answer because he does, at least in theory, seem to have given Crystal Palace his word that he will stay until the end of the season and then move on. So it will be that they're going to have to find another central defender who can do the job. Now, I keep saying right now, if I were Joe Gomez, I'd go to Arne Slot and tell him right now, I want out. You've done absolutely nothing but humiliate me this season. I know that I am a better right back than Bradley, Szoboszlai, and even Curtis Jones. Frimpong I can give you. But you put me down the pecking order, you give me scraps, I deserve better than that. Mm-hmm. And I see our defense flattering to deceive every time, and you still don't have the decency to give me any minutes? Stand up for yourself, Joe. And there's nothing really much about that Liverpool defense that fills me with much confidence. I think Andy Robertson also has far too many miles in the tank, and he's almost gone. But Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth hasn't exactly hit the ground running either.
He's been rough.
Near the end of the previous season, I think Robertson was found out a little bit. And I think this could very well be the end of his time at Liverpool. I think he'll be gone. And of course, he might end up deciding to retire from football if he gets Scotland to the World Cup and ends up playing in that. But, that defence is always going to be a bit of a concern for them. And Brentford do have some chances. Let's also not forget that they do have a pretty decent cheat code in Jordan Henderson, even though he never played under Arne Slot. It is still more or less the Jurgen Klopp team, of which he was a pretty big part in those glory days. Liverpool are going to continue to struggle unless they get their defence in order. And the fact that they won so convincingly is really just an indictment on the drop-in standard of the European teams this season. I just think many of them have, failed to really get to grips with what is required to beat teams from England with our rough and tumble style, hard press, up and at them style. And they've just been found wanting. Many of them have been found wanting. Some of the teams just don't have enough quality. Other teams have, done their dash. And so it's not going to be uncommon for teams to do very well in Europe, but then struggle once they come back to England. And this game, I might actually be confident enough to... there's a part of me that would like to see this end in the Desmond, because that would really do Arsenal a great favour. I've got to be honest, though, and say that unless Brentford are able to really replicate their showing against West Ham with their shambolic defence, I don't know if they'll get much out of it. And Steve will know only too well that against Manchester City, they weren't exactly good in the first half. They did well in the second, but it was too little too late. I'm afraid I'm going to have to break Steve's heart here and go for a Liverpool win, but it will be a 2-1 win. It will be ugly. And I don't think Liverpool are going to do themselves too much credit. But mind you, if Brentford do manage to to draw against Liverpool, or even better, beat them, that'll make me a very happy chappy. And I'm going to owe Steve a pint if I ever meet him one of these days.
Yeah. In regards to Andrew Robertson, I fully agree. I think he hasn't been the player that he was 1 or 2 seasons ago. I think he's been shambolic. No two ways about it that he would feel somewhat underappreciated. However, when your time's up, your time's up. He was actually tipped to leave the club last summer to go to Atletico Madrid, but that ended up collapsing.
He didn't go to Atletico, by the way. They're a shambles right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who they brought someone else in instead. I'm trying to think who it was now. But they chose a different option to him, and he's ended up staying at Liverpool. And he will feel hard done by 100% because of what he's done for the club. But as you said, Kerkez, I mean, I think if you did you do the the prediction, the signing tier list stream with us?
I don't think I did. No.
We all tipped him to be a influent. Yeah, you did, Manny. You did. You was there.
Okay.
I think we all tipped Kirkes to be a exceptional signing. I think we tipped him to be at the very top. It is quite a surprise considering how well he played last season. And you'd think that he'd get even better playing in this really good Liverpool team. It is quite a shock to see, but I think as soon as he gets back to his best, I think they'll be fine. They'll be swimming. It's all about focusing on that defense now, I think, for Liverpool. If they bring in Gahey in January, that would be great for them. But Konate does not look good at the moment. I think he's an incredibly overrated defender. He should have been replaced by Liverpool a very long time ago. As long as Slot doesn't start Verts, I mean, he shouldn't get carried away with them 2 assists that he managed to grab. It should be a midfield of Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Gravenberch. I think would be good for Liverpool. Of course, Jeremy Frimpong will be out for this game. So Jeremy Frimpong won't be playing. Alexander Isak felt a slight discomfort. But he is looking to return. So I think we might see him against Brentford. I'm not sure, but not a fully fit version of him. So it's going to be Ekitike maybe starting, who actually has been in good form. We can't live down Ekitike. And we have to wait and see how Salah performs. I think Manny, I don't know if you agree. Is it time to drop Mo Salah? Give Chiesa that chance.
I love how you talk about Chiesa because, last season for Chiesa, it was exceptionally difficult for him. He wasn't exactly able to find his feet, but this season he started very well. And again, you said it perfectly. This is another example of how Slot just doesn't have the balls, for want of a nicer word, to drop some of his more influential stars. You would think that he would pay more attention to the defense and give, Van Dijk and Konate or both a rest. But of course, he's gotten rid of Kwanzaa. I think he's at Leverkusen now. As far as dropping Salah is concerned, he did drop him against Eintracht Frankfurt and he came off the bench. I don't know if he was influential. I actually think that if you drop him and bring him off the bench on the hour, you could see him wanting to prove the manager wrong and maybe he could get a goal. Salah is one of those players who's always played well whenever he started. But it is a question that's worth asking, and it could be the only thing that's preventing Slot from doing that is the issue of with whom you'd replace him. Who else would you put onto that right wing who could do as good a job? And also on another low-key issue, I think Alexis McAllister has also not really been his usual influential self, and there should be questions asked about him too. I think you could drop Salah for this game as an experiment and see how it works. And if it works, then long may it continue. But it remains to be seen.
Yeah. Chiesa's obviously been coming off the bench. I think he got a contribution against who was it they lost against again? Man United. I think he assisted that Gakpo goal. So, yeah, Chiesa, I think for me, he's an extraordinary player. I think that he's moved from Juventus. I think 13 million. I think Liverpool paid for him, which was very good money. And I think if you can take any chance you can get, even if you've got enough depth, you're going to sign a player of his caliber for 13 million. Exactly like what we've done with Norgard. I think we've spent money on a player that is exceptional, but because of the price that we got him at, I feel like it was just one of them things where he was a bit on the extra, a bit on the side. And that is exactly what's happened to Chiesa. I think Chiesa's been treated a little bit poorly. I think that he's come to the club expecting minutes, but he hasn't got them. And I think it's time that maybe he actually starts getting them minutes, see what he can do, give him that opportunity, see how he goes, see if he's actually going to perform better than Salah has been this season, and drop Mo Salah, drop him. I think Slot needs to grow some balls, drop the players that are not playing well. If they're not playing well, you drop them. Just like what we did with Gabriel Martinelli. We dropped Gabriel Martinelli, and now he is playing absolutely amazing. So I think dropping a player is a huge wake-up call. And I think give that to Salah, because Salah's been in the starting 11 of Liverpool for years now. And he's never really had this sort of thing where he's dropped off and he's been benched. It's time to maybe start, I think, for Liverpool, looking at him and going, okay, he's not playing well. Let's drop him and let's see how it goes. Drop him.
I would agree.
Drop him and he starts playing well. You never know, do
We'll
you?
see. We'll see if that happens. And of course, Martinelli is another case altogether. I don't want to waste too much time talking about Martinelli's issue. But again, the only thing that would make this a bit more difficult for him is what sort of combination would you go with up front? Because let's not forget, obviously Chiesa could come in as a replacement for Salah, but Chiesa also has a part to play, could potentially play a part as a striker. I don't know if Isak should be fit, though. If he's fit, then he should start. But then if he isn't fit,
I don't think he's going to be that fit. If Slot had any sense, he would drop Isak for this game and start Ekitike. Starting two strikers does not work.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If you want to play the 4-2-3-1, it has to be just one striker and a few wide people. Gakpo's been used as a striker by Holland.
He's been very good this season, Gakpo. Gakpo, I think, has been one of them Liverpool players which stood out for me. But starting the two strikers doesn't work. And I always said this. I said, why did Liverpool sign Isak? I know Isak is a great player. He's one of the best going at the moment. But I think they brought in Ekitike, not expecting to get Isak. You bring in Ekitike, he starts playing really well. He scored 3 goals in 3 games. And you'd think maybe this is our guy, this is our guy that's gonna, replace maybe players that they sold. They sold, obviously, Diogo Jota sadly passed away. They needed to get a new player in for him, and they obviously loaned out Darwin Nunez, or they sold him even. So they didn't. They lost 2 strikers, and they replaced them with 2 world-class strikers, which simply in a team doesn't work. You've got a team full of stars now. You've got Salah, who is a star player. You've got now Ekitike, who is a star player. Isak, who's a star player. Florian Wirtz, who's a star player. Szoboszlai, who's a star player. They've got so many star players now, which is almost turning into the situation which Paris Saint-Germain had. Paris Saint-Germain had too many stars, and that's why they weren't able to win the Champions League. Now they've sold these stars. Last season, they won the Champions League. I think that the way that Liverpool are going at the moment, I think it was poor business in the summer. And a lot of people were saying that it's, they're going to win the league again. They're going to be this, they're going to be that. But realistically, you sign too many stars. You're going to have a team full of people who have big egos. It doesn't work.
No, but again, it also depends on the manager. You can't just put it down to the business as well. You take a look at someone like Jose Mourinho, whose best teams always had 2 stars in every position. Even someone like Carlo Cudicini, who, never got a single game with Petr Cech ahead of him in the pecking order, was, convinced to stay, and Mourinho kept sweet-talking him, saying, we love you so much. Personally, if Cudicini had any balls, he would have told Jose to go and do one and say, I'm off, I'm not sticking around here. But my point is that Mourinho was able to manage those egos very well because of his own strong personality. So Slot has got to start, laying down the law, and he's going to have to start asserting himself. And some decent points there from Steve, especially when he talks about how Gakpo did miss the sitter all too recently. Look, if the managers are strong enough, they will start to assert themselves. And, for a time being, even at Arsenal, we always had issues with Arteta preferring some of his favourites far too often. I think now he's started to get some sense and realise that he can't just, pick his favourites because he likes them. And with Eze doing well, he has a huge conundrum with Odegaard, and especially with Gyökeres now starting to score goals. Kai Havertz won't find a way back into the team that easily, or so we think. So Slot's going to have to be stronger. He's going to have to just say, you know what, we're in a mini crisis now. We've got to get out of this crisis. I've got to steer us out of the crisis. And if it means, dropping a few players for a few games, then so be it. And he'll find this combination. But again, he's got to sort out that defense. And I wouldn't be surprised. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford actually find a way to draw against Liverpool. If they beat Liverpool, it would be magnificent. But I think, again, with Brentford as well, many people tip them to go down. Thankfully, they're proving their worth and showing their spirit and heart, and that makes me happy as well. I think Keith Andrews also is coming in for a lot of praise back in Ireland as well. But I think Steve pretty much told me that this might be, a match too far, and I'd be more or less inclined to agree because, again, when you come up against a team that scored 5 goals in midweek, it's not going to be very easy. I think Brentford will show a lot of spirit and heart, but it might just go the way of the Manchester City game, which is why I've gone for a 2-1 Liverpool win.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, we've got a few comments. Big up to yourself, of course, Mr. B. Big up Rhinos. Tomorrow, hate along. Gakpo missed a sitter against Manchester United. He did.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's us done now. I think. Have we missed any games? I don't think we have.
Yeah, I don't know if we have, but let's take a look and see. Well, they already resumed play. It's still 2-0 to Leeds, and I don't see things getting any better for West Ham United. So, sorry, Hammers, your bubble's going to be burst again.
Yeah, West Ham, man. It is a shame because I genuinely did respect them as a club, but one poor decision that stood out for me from West Ham was selling Edson Alvarez. Well, they didn't sell him; they loaned him out actually, which I think was totally unnecessary because he was a very, very good player for them. Unless he wanted out, I don't know. But yeah, they didn't replace him, and I think that was a big cock up from them.
Yeah, if you sell players and don't replace them, you're asking for trouble. Wolves,
and that's always been the thing that I've said against about West Ham since the start of the season. They sold players, they didn't replace them. They never really replaced Kudus. They got 60 million for him, never replaced him. Of course, Alvarez as well, who they should have kept. James Ward-Prowse, he's still in the team, isn't he?
Look, he's in the squad, but I don't think he'll have much of a future under Nuno. Nuno's quite infamous for telling players that they are no longer a part of his plans and doing away with them.
I think staying at Southampton would have been his best bet, but of course I know he was there for years, and obviously every player has to move on at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to wrap up now, if that's all right with you, Manny.
That's perfect. I think we've done every single game.
Yeah, brilliant. So, do you want to shout out your socials and?
Yeah, first of all, big up to Flair and big up to everyone in the chat. Thanks a lot for joining in. I'm only sorry it was just us two, Flair and I tonight, but hopefully on Monday we'll get some people coming back in and we'll see how that works. And yeah, if you want to catch me on Instagram, it's Manny Thanglerai 1981. That's my name on the bottom left-hand corner. Add 1981, and you can find me on Instagram and Threads. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's just my surname and 1981. And obviously, you can catch me here on YouTube, here on OTF, and on several other channels where I do play a part. Haven't been back recently. I do occasionally go on Spurs U Asian TV. Big up to Eugene, of course, a Malaysian-based Spurs fan. Does some really good watch-alongs, and we might actually be doing a preview together for the upcoming North London derby, if he gets the time, of course. So I will let you know about that. And nothing much else to say, except I hope you all enjoy your weekend, wherever you are, whichever team you support. I hope your team does well. And nothing much else to say. The season keeps on rolling. Arsenal are doing well, but rather than simply wax too lyrical about this, we have to be, guarded, avoid complacency. We never know what can happen. It's always one game at a time. And nothing much else. Take care of yourselves. God bless. Don't do anything that Flair or I wouldn't do. But until then, adieu.
Be up to yourself, of course, Manny. Yeah, of course, brilliant to have Manny on. There wasn't a lot of us today, but I think me and Manny went on very well with that stream. Of course, you can find me AFC Flair on Instagram. Just hit 30,000, so very, very, very grateful for that. Well, actually, we haven't hit 30,000. We're very close to it though. We're on 27k now. We just hit 27k. So by the end of the year, let's hope we can get that 30,000 mark. That would be absolutely huge. You can now find me on YouTube as well. I post a lot on YouTube now, match reactions of Arsenal games. If you're an Arsenal fan and you're interested, feel free to check it out, AFC Flair. And yeah, of course, big up to yourself, Manny. Big up to everyone in the chat. And take care, everybody.